Okay, I like it. Now it's just a matter of tool paths. And so the tool paths you have, if you call the roughing tool path, I'm going to throw in a 1/4 inch end mill. I'm not going to worry about feeds and speeds on this one. Just to show you what happens. Offset boundary is generally half the diameter, half the diameter, or 1 time the radius, whichever is larger. You guys awake?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Boy, this is a tough crowd. Half the diameter here for the boundary offset. That allows the bit to get over and outside when it starts to go down, so it doesn't start chipping away at the final area of the model that you want. The minimum clearance that this roughing tool path is going to have between it, wherever it's cutting, and the final model itself is 40 thousandths of an inch, right here. And what that does is it puts all the bulk force on the roughing bit, which is a 1/4 inch end mill. It can take quite a bit, and takes it away from the finishing bit, which is probably going to be an 1/8 or a 1/16 inch ball nose, which is a little more fragile. So the smaller this machining allowance is, the less force you're going to have on the actual finishing bit. However, if you get it too close, you're going to get chip out. And if you get chip out, then you just lost the advantage of removing that extra amount. Z level and raster, you fool around with those two to find out which one is going to give you a better time. I found if you have heavily grained wood, mahogany would be one I would consider heavily grained, then you want to use a raster cut in the direction of the grain, and it kind of hides the cut itself. Okay. If you have curly maple, probably doesn't make any difference, raster or 3D Z level. The Z level just goes all around on one level and cuts everything else out, and then it goes down the next level and cuts everything that it should cut out, where the raster goes back and forth and back and forth. Sometimes one is faster than the other, and that's what you do is you start fooling around with that thing, going out and see what time the clock says, and if the clock gives you a good time, then you select it. I generally wouldn't put ramp moves in here because every time you have a fast move from point A to point B, it becomes a ramp move. Well, that, if I can repeat it, costs you 4 or 5 seconds a piece. If you have a couple of 100 fast moves, that's some time. So you're not tearing out a lot of material on this one, each one. So I would disregard the plunge ramp plunge moves on it. And so you say calculate, and it looks good to me, just like I would. So when you get done with your first cut, that's what that flower is going to look like. It's a thing of beauty. Only another flower of love. So next one to do would be to, with the same area selected, you would want to run the finishing bit. 1/8 inch ball nose, let's see what I have here. 10%, that'll give me a real good finish. 5% will be a very good finish. I've run them at 2%, and boy, you better have a lot of coffee around to keep you awake, because it'll take you a while. But, pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. and you go to the model boundary, unless you want to keep everything around. The difference between the model boundary and what else you have here, a material boundary, is if you want to keep all the surplus material, then you go to the material boundary. If you want to throw away all of it, and you want to cut it out, then just go to the model boundary, and you stop there. You save a lot of time. And again, if there's a model boundary, I would go to half the diameter of the bit that's being used. So 125 divided by 2 is 0.625.
675.
Oh, whatever, yeah, 0.6. Yeah. It's less than 3 inches. So, yeah, make that the offset boundary. And again, raster versus offset will depend on the grain and exactly what you're doing, you know, the design. There's a whole bunch of things. And then once you get all that stuff done, it's calculate, and that's what it looks like. I always reset the previews every time I come back to this, because I don't want any vestiges of the last time I looked at it to carry over to the current. If I do, there may be some defects in the last one that I corrected, and if I don't reset the preview, those foul vestiges will carry over, which I really don't want. So I'm going to reset the preview and then preview all toolpaths, and that's a thing of beauty. Whoa. Yeah. So the last thing I need to do is put the Best Flower Award in it. So I'm going to select it, close, and it's going to be a simple VCarve. Okay. I'm going to use a 60-degree 1/4 inch because I'm not going to go down very far. 1/10 of an inch at max. That's the maximum depth. It's not the depth that I'm cutting. It's the depth in this particular case is going to be confined by the 2 vectors that define the outer edges of the individual letter. Does that make sense? Okay. The other thing is, I'll do it, and then I'll show you what went wrong, and then I'll show you how easy it is to correct it. And because I like messing up, and I'm going to say, okay, VCarve Turn Edition, empty toolpaths. Oh, okay. Okay, now I want to preview all, reset preview, and preview all. And I should have Best Flower sitting on this thing. Oh no. Oh no. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So when that happens, you come back here, you know it's in the VCarve problem. It's just someplace. And right down at the bottom here, it says project toolpath onto 3D model. Put a little check mark in there, and things go right in the night. Okay. I sure hope they do. Preview. Oh, reset preview. And then preview all. And this time it should pop out. And the nice part about this is if this was a waving banner, it would actually follow the wave. The depth of the lettering would follow the wave, which makes it real nice. So you can tilt a banner backwards, and some of the banners actually do have waves to them, and it knows it knows, by the way, where every point on this thing is. Right now, I'm on the surface of the wood, and I don't know if you can see right here, it shows me at a 0 height. Okay. If I move it over here, it shows me that I'm down 0.2931 inches. Okay. It knows where every point on this thing is. And if I get over here in the real bowels of the thing, it's down 3205 or something like that. So that's the way it knows how it's going to handle the text sitting on the ribbon.
Yeah, so can you go back and see what the machining time is?
For you, Paul?
Yes.
Yes.
Please.
Yes. I didn't set up the feeds and speeds on this, so
that's okay.
It could be a couple of hours. Close. 37 minutes?
Not bad at all.
Oh.
Not bad at all.
Now, I think this is a 4x4 piece of material.
On the design side, yeah.
Let's see, sheets here. You can either pull the sheets down from here, and all you can do is kind of take a look at them. You can add a new sheet or whatever. But if you want to know the details of the sheet, you can come over here, and you can click on the sheets here. And this is the best flower. So it's 4x4 by 0.705. These do not have to be the same size. In fact, they don't even have to be the same material. They don't have to be the same thickness. None of them have to be the same. You can mix them all up depending on whatever you want to do. This may work if you, for example, I made a dovetail box at one time and I really had a headache, so everything became a separate sheet, for that dovetail fingertail box. Everything became a separate sheet, and then I started copying between sheets, and I was able to handle it fairly well. But each sheet was a different size, with all the same thickness, but it was a different size, and so it can handle it that way. And are there any questions on this part here? No questions? Okay.
All very good.
Hold that there. When you open up, disregard this whole thing over here about buying. It says you have a trial version. If you want to buy one, click here. If you buy one, it won't work with our machine, by the way. So, I mean, if you want to give them the money, I'm sure they'll be glad for it, but it won't work with our machine. If you have a machine at home, it wouldn't be a bad idea to buy one, but then you've got to remember which version you're working with if you come into the shop versus if you're working at home. Because if you use the makerspace and you try to use it at home on your home machine, it won't work. It won't generate G-code. Even if you put it in, even if you try to put it in your home version of VCarve. Okay, now, got to go down to the shop. No, we're not going to go down to the shop. But we're going to take a look at what the shop interface will look like. First of all, we have a new icon, so you want to click on it. You type in your email address, you open your email on your iPhone. Let me get mine out here. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Okay. There's a one-time passcode that they'll send you in your email. It won't come in text. So if you open up your messages and you wait there for a half an hour and it hasn't popped up yet, go to your email, okay? And it should be okay. You enter it on the screen and now you're there. So let's.
Huh? So by then it's expired.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I'm going to hopefully. Sometimes this thing
That
gets.
instruction says open on your iPhone.
Yeah.
That will work.
Or you open on your email on your iPhone.
Yeah. What if you're on an iPhone?
Well, you have to buy one for $1,000.
Might as well just buy a
I
CNC
think that the instructions are a little biased.
machine. You think?
That was that.
Get out. Okay.
But see, he doesn't want Apple computers, but he wants Apple phones.
I
Yeah.
know, it doesn't make any sense.
Boy, you try hard and, okay. So, when you double click on the icon downstairs, if you haven't done so already, this is what you're going to get. Are you a registered user or not? And if you're not a registered user, it's going to take you off in a never land someplace. If you are a registered user, then you say next. And then it's going to ask you for your password. Not your password, your email account. So that dot Duffy, I'm not the fastest typist in the world, 45 at gmail.com. And you say, please send a one-time code. And I found out, I mistyped something in here. Yes, I found out that it just doesn't send off an email to anybody. Make sure that the email address is a valid address. I put a comma between Duffy and 45, and it didn't recognize the email address. So it gave me the nastygram back, and so I can now put the right one in, and I can ask for a one-time code, and it says welcome, and it pops up with this message, and now this may take, it was slow today, so.
Well, they're on English time.
No reply. Good. So you get a thing called no reply from Vectric one-time token or something like that. And it'll give you a 6-digit code, 631070. Is that the right amount? Good. Whew. Once you click on this and you say verify, you can't come back and use that number 2 minutes later. It's a one-time deal. And say verify, and it says, oh yeah, I know who you are. And it actually tells me that I'm part of the San Diego Fine Woodworkers Association. And just click on finish. And now we're on the full Makerspace edition that you would see downstairs on the CNC machines. I am registered as Pat Duffy, which is good. I'm also over here as Pat Duffy, which is good. I'm down there as Pat Duffy, so if I ever forget who I am, I just need to log in. And,
Triangulate.
so I'm going to open an existing file if I can find one. Oh, best flower. Open. And now I can do any modifications I want to with it. Somebody was asking, let's see, I'm going to get rid of the, you can start toggling this stuff off and on, which is really neat. And now somebody asked what this little orthographic, what's the name of it? Orthonographic or?
Orthographic.
Yeah,
Orthographic.
it's kind of like my mattress, orthopedic?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the difference between the two, okay? Now, it does make a difference if you, I'm going to expand this out. If you take a look at, say, by the way, you can use the right mouse button to do the same thing as that top button is concerned. So if I switch between orthographic view and regular view, or perspective view, I guess is what they call it, this is what you see. Now that's orthographic view, and I had to find out exactly what the difference was. And it turns out that this distance, because this, by the way, these are parallel lines in my design, this distance here, if you measured it, would be the same as this distance here. There may be some reason for that. I don't know. But I have a feeling it was a feature that they found that they like, so they put it in.
They have that orthographic thing in Bamboo Studio too.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand it if you're doing two-dimensional, a 2.5, not 2, but 2.5. It gets rid of some of the side chatter that goes on, and especially if you're taking, say, a screenshot I use it in SketchUp, and when you take a screenshot, and all you get now is the drawing, the surface drawing of that particular element. If you aren't in orthographic view, they call it something else, I think. But if you're not in that view, then you always get these little shadow lines all over the place. And when you start taking a look at it, I get confused with shadows. So, these guys up here are toggles for, this is this toggle for geometry snapping. So these are primarily snapping items. Snapping items together, vector snapping or smart toggle snapping. And this is graph snapping. So if you have a 1/8" graph, then it'll snap to every 1/8 inch.
Like grid lines type of
Yeah,
thing.
grid lines, yeah. So when you get down there, boy, you're just pleased as punch with this thing. Couldn't be happier. So you're going to jump over to the toolpath side. I've already created the toolpaths because that was rather boring. But I have created the toolpaths, and then it's a matter of going up and clicking on Save Toolpath. And this is where people forget, if you don't have enough of the toolpath, or if you don't have all the toolpaths checked, then when you get up here to visible toolpaths, it's only going to save those toolpaths that have been checked, okay? So the easiest way to do is come down here and just hit this little black box, boom, and then I don't have to go click, click, click. Now it fills up everything, and right now, and I'm only going to give you guys this secret, because this is really a top secret thing. If anybody ever mentions it, I'll deny it, okay? Try to get out of Dave's way. So these are your toolpaths here. You want it saved to one file because we have automatic tool changing. Well, it's not automatic, it's actual manual, but we call it automatic. But you can cram them all into one file, and that's the easiest way to do it. Because we do have the bit setter and bit zero that work hand in hand well together. Right here we have a Carbide 3 XXL, and right back in here it would have said Carbide Motion. Okay, so the machine is a Shapeoko 3 Carbide Motion machine, and down here is a Carbide Motion ATC, or automatic tool change post-processor. You will not find that on your home computer, by the way. I'm not going to share that with you. Okay? It wouldn't make any difference because you couldn't save anything. And this has to do with how the G code is going to be saved. It's going to be saved in a .nc file as opposed to a .g code file. So it'll be saved in a .nc file, and all these things will be packed in to one file. Now, there is a possibility that we might get a new CNC machine. Okay? Don't get excited, David.
Too late.
Don't get it. It will handle 17 sheets of 4x8 sheet of plywood at one time.
They have to get new space.
But if we ever do get a new CNC machine, and you go between them. Right now, the HDM actually is part of the Shapeoko 3 line, okay? Along with the XXL and the XL and a couple of others. There's a Nomad line, Shapeoko 3, there's a Shapeoko 5, there's a Shapeoko 5 Pro, etc. So if we ever were to get a new one, okay, this is where a bugaboo might come in. Right here, if we were to say get a Shapeoko 5, just dreaming, and you're going to the Shapeoko 5, then select the Shapeoko 5. Okay, but remember, you're sitting at the Shapeoko 5 already, and this thing better be pre-selected for Shapeoko 5. Or you're sitting at the HDM, and this would be pre-selected for the HDM. Don't change that. Things go bump in the night when they do, and then you call me and they say, oh, this thing broke by itself and I haven't got a clue what happened. And I'll say, well, you know, did you check this? And, oh, no, it didn't. Yeah, it's wrong. So, no. You're going to have to start checking this guy if and when we get a new CNC machine out there on the floor.
That also goes hand in hand with signing up for machine slots, because we're going over to Pro Class, and you may have to specifically sign up for a specific CNC.
I have yet.
So,
are they talking about that?
Yeah,
Or-
that's the way
It's a
it's gonna
done deal.
end up working, is that the machines, the different machines will have different, so it's not just the CNC slot
Yeah.
with 2 seats available.
yeah,
It'll
Okay.
be, you know, CNC 1 hour, we're gonna name it.
yeah.
That's 1 slot, then, or you can sign up for the other CNC one.
Okay.
Just like the lasers, a large one, small one.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, the lasers aren't so bad because unless you have a 2x4 piece of plywood that you're trying to put into the 35,
Yeah.
you're generally not going to have a problem.
yeah.
Going between 2 different types, today you might be on the, I'll make it up, the Shapeoko 3, and tomorrow you're on the Shapeoko 4, okay? And you try to bring your code in that you made on the 3, you can't bring it into the 4. It's not going to work. Okay. Now you got to regenerate all that code again. And then the next day, if you go back to the 3, you know, all bets are off again. So, especially if you're doing a large inlay work, and today all you have is a 3 available,
Yeah.
and tomorrow all you have is a 4 available, and going back and forth between, you're going to have to keep track of that.
Yeah.
So,
So you said right now, this is generating a .nco file, but when I was using it this weekend, it was generating a G code.
VCarve?
Yeah,
Version 12.
version 12.
Huh. Well, let's see. Save G code. It's going to save as a .nc file,
Click on that, maybe there's a different,
and I'm going
Different option
to,
under there?
yeah.
let's see
I would
where's the
save as
V12.
type, click on
Okay.
it, see if you, there's G
The
code.
drop down, yeah. I mean, it worked okay, but I don't know
Well,
if there
you-
was a difference between,
Right, so you just explicitly told to save as a .nc file.
I can't remember where I saved it. I thought it was under images, best flower.
you can hit sort by date and make the last one on top.
Hmm?
Hit the date modified on the top, so you can sort everything, and then what the last one will be.
Click
Next,
it,
right
yeah,
there.
that
Yeah,
one.
right there.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Okay, scroll up,
Yeah, that's always good,
It's not there. So, it must have,
Somewhere else.
wait a second. Get rid of this guy here for a second. Ah, no wonder. It's still connecting. This is another pain.
Is the internet up or down?
I think the internet's probably up. I've run into this a couple of times, and
We also have some goofy things going on with internet.
I've run into this at home, and I have a feeling that
It's a-
somebody cut the transatlantic cable or something like that.
Yeah. Or it's Dave's fault, either one.
Yeah.
The Vector
Click on
website
the
came
type.
up, and I think you have to hit allow. I've run into that here before. So when you try and connect with your G code, you have to hit allow.
Why would it
Maybe
ask
once
me
you
for
sign in.
Log in again?
a login again?
I think it's, yeah, it knows it's you.
Huh.
It's a lock-in.
Maybe they're out for
Find out what
lunch.
happened to that one.
You have to close that and start over. I bet it's just,
What? Close it?
yeah, and then start over, save again.
That's what he did.
This is my third time.
Yeah, you just logged in.
You're in images now. There you go.
Yeah.
There we
Oh,
go.
there it is.
Okay. So,
Oh, different prompt, okay.
set the server, saving. I see a blinking light over here, so. Okay, so now I come back over here, and it was,
It's in images.
G-code. Yeah, it was G-code. Let's see here, just to make sure.
Yeah, 714, yeah, that's the one you just saved.
What's G code mean?
It's just the, G-code is the kind of language that actually the machine understands.
So they, apparently, their prompt up there didn't change.
Okay.
I don't know. Software is beyond me. But at any rate, yeah, this is,
Yeah, that's a little misleading, but.
this text actually is embedded in the post-processor dialogue that comes up when you install the machine. And that's not a function of Vectric, that's a function of some guy in a university back in Maryland or something like that, I think.
The two machines we have right now, they generate the same G-code.
Right,
So
right.
it doesn't matter which machine you're sitting on, that G-code can
Oh,
go.
well,
Between
but
the
I'm,
HDMI
but I'm,
and the-
but I'm saying, today, yes.
Today, right.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is tomorrow, when we get the Shipoko 4,
Yeah.
okay, it's not compatible with the Shipoko 3, then you're gonna have to, it'll still be a G-code file.
Right.
Okay,
But you just
but-
have to create the G-code on whatever machine you're actually doing the cutting on.
You got it,
So,
yeah.
Is that new CNC replacing one, or we're gonna have a third CNC?
If we get one, it would replace one. I don't think we can afford 3 on the shop floor. Rick would not allow me to do that. Okay,
Can't stack them.
what? Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's pretty easy just to, when you save one, when we encounter 2 different machines, you save it for both machines, because it's pretty quick in saving it.
Yeah, well, you have to
Yeah.
move over to the machine. Yeah. And if you don't have to save it to the second machine. But all I'm saying is be aware of this fact that a Shipoko 3 will not be the same as a Shipoko 4, or a Nomad, or whatever we get. Yeah. There will be,
Problem we don't have
and,
yet.
and when that,
That's right. Well, we
when
don't have
that
yet.
does occur, we'll probably have a big blast going out to everybody saying, I told you so if you run into a problem. I told you so. So,
Yeah.
so you have your G-code saved on your thumb drive, hopefully. That's another thing. Periodically, I'm going to be clearing the desktop on the 2 CNC machines down there. So anybody has files on it that they put there temporarily because you wanted to get to them several times, put them back on a thumb drive, and then you won't lose them. I don't know when I'm going to erase everything on the desktop, but it may happen. It won't happen tomorrow.
Do we have a place where we could contribute files that other people can use?
You know,
Somebody asked me about, I did a wedgies for the segment of bolt turning, so I have
Yeah.
those files.
you know, the lasers, laser group has something similar to that with thumb drive. And that may not be a bad idea to put a thumb drive over each of the CNC, or maybe just one with a big handle on it saying this is a CNC shared drive or something like that.
Or put it on, I thought we have, don't we have a
Google Drive.
Google Drive?
Yeah, we have Google Drive. If you want to do it, if you want to take over the Google Drive, you've got it.
Not just for one file. But just email it to you.
No, I don't want to take that over. Things get stuck there. We had, Dave ran into that problem.
Yeah.
Things get stuck there, and we have no idea what it was.
Where they came from.
What did you spend, a couple of weekends?
Well, no, just a couple of nights, actually.
Yeah.
Moving stuff around to make it more organized.
Yeah, so things after a while, housekeeping becomes secondary, and so it's much easier on a thumb drive. When you fill a thumb drive up, you'd pay another $1.29 and you get a second thumb drive and start all over again. So. Okay, so once you've done that and you want to go home, you say, okay, goodbye, and you click on the exit button and it asks you to log out. Okay, now this is on the server downstairs, not at home, on the server downstairs. So you'll be logging out, and please say yes, okay? If not, the next person that comes in is going to piggyback on top of you. And things may not go right depending on some of the settings that he has set up in VCNO, or VNCO, I guess that's what it is, back in England. So please just have the courtesy of saying, yes, I do want to log off. If you come in and you find out somebody's already logged in and it's always showing Pat Duffy on the upper right-hand corner, and you really don't care, then go ahead and use me, or my login anyway. If you do care, then log out and then log back in. It's just Xing out, then log in, and then the only advantage it would have if you didn't log me out is you wouldn't have to worry about getting a text or a email message with a code inside of it. But that's the only savings that you have, and I think there's some disadvantages that far outweigh that. Yes?
If you just log out of the computer or reboot the computer, would it log you out?
I'm sorry, what?
If you just shut down the computer or reboot the computer, would it log you out?
I'm sure it would,
We
yeah.
don't do that, we just turn off the screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to shut down the.
Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to keep that computer on as long as we can, so eventually we'll get a new fan.
I'm waiting for it to get louder. Not enough for me to hear.
Well, it's almost overpowering the dust collection system. No, yeah, please leave it on. But I'm sure once the logical connection is lost, then you're going to have to come back in again.
I think I followed somebody once and couldn't do it, and my tool database wasn't there. You know, I couldn't figure out why I had my tool database. I think it's because I didn't. They hadn't logged out and I didn't log in.
Okay, yeah. Ah, yes, yeah. And that's the rub, is that tool database that, you're going to have access to the SDFWA tool database. There's an acrylic, softwood, hardwood, and MDF, those 4 types. If you find out the hardwood does not match your standards for hard maple, for example, then copy that into another database, tool database called hard maple, and then start changing some of the parameters. but you can't, it's, I'm not sure, I guess you can. The advantage of using SDFWA is you have that tool number down there, okay? The other thing too is, please bring in your job sheet. Print a job sheet out and bring it in every time you come into the shop. It'll help you out. Quite often when I'm in here, I'll have both the VCarve open, which will show me the actual job that I'm running, and then I'll have Carbide Motion open, and then I can see exactly what's supposed to be happening at what time between the two. So that's another way of handling it.
VCarve doesn't keep track of what's actually being cut.
Not what's actually being cut, but it tells you the sequence of events for bits.
In some sort of time.
So
Yeah.
you just see where,
Because if it just comes up with bit number 1, number 14, number 3, number 7, you have no idea what those bits are. And I've caught myself in that very same predicament. So be sure and log out. That's the last thing. I guess I can't overemphasize this. Sign in every time you use it, and sign out every time you leave the shop's computers. Okay, just so you don't carry stuff over, like Walt said.
What is the timeout?
I ran into that problem a couple of nights ago. I was doing something, I forgot what it was, and I left it up on the screen. I says, you know, I can just leave this up overnight. I don't need to. It was saved, luckily enough, but and it was on my home version, the client version, and I got back. I opened it back up. I opened the computer lid back up the next morning, and the whole thing came up, but I couldn't do anything with it. And then I realized that I wasn't signed in, so I had to sign back in again. And if I hadn't saved anything, I have a feeling I would have lost the work that I had done.
It's probably a few hours.
Yeah. It is persistent for some degree of time, because I've shut down VCarve, the client edition, for 2 or 3 hours. I've come back to it and it's still apparently logged in. So I don't know whether somebody over there has a random number generator going or what.
the shop one, you stayed up for the whole 3-hour slot, so.
Oh, yeah.
So that one doesn't log you out.
Yeah, that is persistent, right. As long as you don't close it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Questions? No more questions? Come on,
Oh, good.
come on, guys.
We're confused or experts.
So, former drips?
I wish you had this class last week. I wasted a bunch of wood screwing up an inlay.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the inlay and the sketch, I haven't perfected the sketch. I don't know if I ever will. The inlay seems to be fairly easy, as long as you use the right type of wood. And it has to do with grains and stuff falling apart at the wrong time. But the inlay is the sketch is really an intriguing tool that I've seen. The other thing is things have moved around, so if you can't find them, and I'd say don't spend more than 4 or 5 weeks hunting for something before you drop me a piece of email. And
4 or 5 weeks.
yeah, weeks. And yeah. Okay. Thank you,
Well, thank you
guys.
very much, yeah.